let's talk some history. So this is going to be pretty brief. I'm sorry I haven't been able to update it since that first video about Chief John Ross. I'm just going to throw a few quick facts at you, and then I'll have hopefully a little longer video tomorrow. So Chief John Ross was actually an Indian agent in 1811, which I thought was really interesting. And during the War of 1812, he served under Andrew Jackson. So that was the Red Stick War, which we talked about with Chief Going Snake, where actually they helped Andrew Jackson defeat the Red Sticks. And then Andrew Jackson still turns around and signs the removal. So I thought that was interesting. He was a very sound, very savvy businessman. He kind of proved his business mettle in a sense by starting a tobacco plantation in Tennessee. And I thought this part was cool. When you read a lot of the Cherokee stuff, especially starting into the Cherokee removal, it talks a lot about Ross's Landing. Well, I'd read it so much and heard it so much, I never tied it in with Chief John Ross. But the reason it's called Ross's Landing was because he actually started a ferry service there to ferry people back and forth across the Chattanooga. And they started calling it Ross's Landing because that's where, a ferry or a boat could pull in. They call it a landing. I don't know why the boat doesn't fly, but anyway, they started calling it, I know I'm not funny, they started calling it Ross's Landing because of Chief John Ross. Last quick little fact, I told you this video was going to be short today, so it gives you some time to go read on Chief John Ross if you would like. There's still the reading stuff in the room. Check it out. He got really involved into Cherokee politics, and that garnered attention from Chief Pathkiller at the time, Major Ridge. Remember we talked about Major Ridge with Stan Wadey and the New Akota Treaty and how Major Ridge was part of the treaty party, and John Ross was not. He was still part of that Cherokee government. He was the chief over Major Ridge eventually, and Major Ridge and him kind of had a parting of the ways over that. And Major Ridge ended up being one of them who was executed for the treaty, the removal treaty. So, and then Charles Hicks also gained his attention. I'm not sure who the Charles Hicks is. I'd have to look that one up. But I know Major Ridge, Stan Wadey's uncle, had a major interest in Chief John Ross before he was chief because of his interest in Cherokee politics. So I'm not sure how close the two men were, but that can make a really interesting story because later the Cherokee Nation actually executed a Major Ridge, and that I believe would have been when Chief John Ross was chief. So find that kind of interesting. If you guys can read more on it, let me know.